Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news-making headlines today. The U.S. Supreme Court began hearings on Wednesday to decide whether President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on South Korea and other nations were legally justified. The Supreme Court, which currently holds a conservative majority, heard arguments from attorneys representing small businesses in 12 Democratic-leaning states that filed the lawsuit, as well as from government lawyers defending Trump's policy. At the center of the case is whether Trump exceeded his presidential authority when he used tariffs as a central tool of his economic and foreign policy. Lower courts, including the U.S. Court of International Trade and the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, had already ruled that Trump's global tariffs imposed using emergency powers were unlawful. North Korea has said it will respond with strategic patience to what it calls Washington's unchanged hostility following the recent sanctions. According to its state media Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, Kim Eun-chol, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of U.S. affairs, issued a statement that reiterated Pyongyang's position against what it called the deep-rooted hostility toward our state from the current U.S. administration. Despite Trump's interest in reviving talks with Kim Jong-un as the sanctions continue, Pyongyang's choice of strategic patience may suggest a sharp rhetoric and a renewed hardline approach. South Korea's current account surplus continued for the 29th month straight in September, driven by strong exports. The Bank of Korea announced Thursday that the preliminary current account surplus registered for the month stood at $13.47 billion, the largest for any previous September. According to officials, the figure was driven by a $14.24 billion surplus in the goods account. Exports rose 9.6% from the previous year, while imports increased by 4.5%. Also, from January to September, the cumulative surplus reached $82.77 billion, about 23% higher than the same period last year. K-beauty company APR, the owner of Medicube and now South Korea's #1 K-beauty firm by market capitalization, has announced its highest-ever quarterly performance despite U.S. tariffs kicking in. The company held an earnings conference on Thursday and said that its consolidated sales for the third quarter of 2025 reached 385.9 billion won, or approximately $267 million, up 121.7% year-on-year. Operating profit soared by over 252% on-year to 96.1 billion won. This record was driven by a 210% surge on-year in overseas sales, which now make up 80% of the company's total revenue. Despite tariffs, the United States led this growth, with sales skyrocketing 280%. The company said the 15% tariffs had only around 1% negative effect on sales. The Environment Ministry has announced two possible targets for South Korea's new national greenhouse gas reduction goal for 2035. During a public hearing at the National Assembly on Thursday, the Environment Ministry and related agencies revealed two ranges. It proposed cutting emissions by either 50 to 60% or 53 to 60% compared to 2018 levels, a significant change from the current target of a 40% reduction by 2030. The final decision on which target to use will be made by the Presidential Commission on Carbon Neutrality and Green Growth and the Cabinet next week and then be submitted to the United Nations the following week. Under the Paris Agreement, signatory nations are required to establish and submit updated targets every 5 years. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.